they did the colonoscopy and they found out that I had ulcerative colitis. And I remember looking on because you can look on the screen, right, where the camera's in your body, and you can just see, I could just see like the ulcers like all over the place in my bowel. At first, I wasn't actually really too concerned. I was like, okay, cool, I'll take these medications, they're gonna make me better. But then as it started going on a bit more like into like a year, 2019 is now, and I was like, I'm still taking these medications and I'm still having symptoms here and there. Like I'm still having bleeding and all this stuff. And I came across a YouTube channel that was promoting the carnivore diet. And so I decided for about a month or so to just eat meat, to go on this crazy carnivore diet. And I got worse because you're healing, your body's cleansing out all that bad stuff. Because you bleed a lot, right? And I there were days where I was going to the toilet like over 20 times in a day. It slowly started getting better. And by November, the symptoms just completely went. It was interesting. It was like one day, or it just seemed to like it kind of slowed down a bit, but it was interesting. It was like really bad one week, and then it was just like gone. And then I was having like normal stools again. And that was another thing, was like my taste buds changed. I actually started loving eating because even now, pretty much every day, if I'm eating breakfast, fruits are going to be in it.
Give this video a thumbs up if you know what it's like to live with IBD, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. This channel is designed to help people recover from colitis, Crohn's, and any other form of IBD. You can always head to our website, highcarbhealth.com, for a free 30-minute consultation from anywhere in the world. And remember, there is a life after colitis.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of IBD Heal, a podcast brought to you by High Carb Health. I'm your host, Shakul, and today we are joined by Sam, who's going to share his testimony of how he was able to heal from ulcerative colitis. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me on, Shakul.
Yeah, you're welcome, mate.
This is actually something I had been thinking of doing like 2 years ago. So it's interesting how things work out.
Everything happens at the right time, yeah. And so Sam didn't work with us, but he has found out the information that we've been sharing with people online and found some other information as well, studied David Klein's book. And by switching to a plant-based diet, he has been able to heal his ulcerative colitis. So we're going to hear his story, and it's a really cool one about how he's able to heal and how he found out about the information and the kind of process that he's gone through with different diets and things. So Sam, let's just start from the beginning and have you talk a little bit about where this started from you, how you got diagnosed, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. So in December 2017, that's when I first started realizing I was having these symptoms. I was having some bleeding and pain in my bowels. And I remember going to my GP and telling him about this, and he didn't even recognize what it was. He thought it was something else, which, as I said before, I can't remember what it was now, but it wasn't ulcerative colitis. And he basically said to me, don't worry, like it will be fine, it will go away. And I kind of kept that with me. So for the next 6 months, I was having symptoms on and off throughout 2018. And eventually it got worse and worse and worse, to the point where in June 2018, I was out with one of my friends and I was looking so pale and just sickly that he was like, all right, Sam, I'm taking you to the hospital. Like, we're getting this sorted out. And I even remember being at the hospital that night, and it was late at night, and I started saying to him, I might just go home. And he's like, no. He even went home, got blankets, came, was like, you're seeing the doctor. And I'm grateful that actually went that way, because they did the colonoscopy and they found out that I had ulcerative colitis. And I remember looking on because you can look on the screen, right, where the camera's in your body, and you can just see, I could just see like the ulcers like all over the place in my bowel. And then my gastroenterologist, she told me that I had this disease. They're going to give me medications for it, that essentially I'm going to be having to be on medications for the rest of my life. And they gave me prednisone and mesalazine. So to many of the people who listen to this who've been through similar, they'll be familiar with those medications, I'm sure. And so at first, I wasn't actually really too concerned. I was like, okay, cool, I'll take these medications. They're going to make me better. But then as it started going on a bit more like into like a year, 2019 is now, and I was like, I'm still taking these medications and I'm still having symptoms here and there. Like I'm still having bleeding and all this stuff. And mentally, I was not in a good place as well. And then in 2019, I actually started trying to find ways to get better. And I came across a YouTube channel that was promoting the carnivore diet. And so I decided for about a month or so to just eat meat, to go on this crazy carnivore diet. And I got worse, obviously. But back then, I didn't know. I was just trying things out. And then it was later in 2019, to be honest with the whole situation that I was in, that's when I started to read the Bible. I decided to become a Christian and I started to have faith in God and in the Lord Jesus Christ. Then what I found out about a lady called Ellen G. White, who she had visions back in the 1800s. She was a Christian. She had visions back in the 1800s. And she said that God told her, and in her writings, that God told her that the diet that mankind should be eating is a vegan diet. And she refers in the Bible back to Genesis, where God created mankind to eat fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. And I was reading her writings, and what really also stood out to me was the fact that she, in her visions, God had given her prophecies of future events. So like she spoke back in 1861, I think it was, about the First World War and the Second World War, with a time of peace in the middle between those two world wars. And she also talked about like the natural disasters increasing in the future as well. And so when I saw those things, I was like, oh, wow. So, you know, clearly God was giving her these visions and she's promoting this vegan diet, and it is there in the Bible as well. And that's what started to change my mind and think that, maybe, because as I was saying to you before that, in 2019, I was on the street one time, I was arguing with a vegan, trying to tell him that he's wrong. Like, because at that time, I think that was when I was doing the carnivore diet, and I really wanted to believe that that would work. And so I was even arguing with this vegan guy. But then, yeah, like when I actually started to read the Bible, started to look into the writings of Ellen White, and some of the people listening to this may have heard of the place in California called Loma Linda. What they do, and that's one of the 7 blue zones where people have the highest life expectancy in the world, because many of the people there are on a vegan diet. A lot of those people are Seventh-day Adventist Christians, and that was set up through the teachings of Ellen G. White, which is what a lot of people don't realize. That's where that whole Loma Linda community, that's where it all comes from. It all goes back to that woman. So I'm very grateful. I was very grateful at first for finding about her. And that's in March. So in March 2020, I did go vegan, but I was still on the medications. But there was something within me that was saying that I didn't actually know at the time the actual full details of it until I found your YouTube channel. But I just knew something deep down, these medications, I shouldn't be taking them, that they're going to have a detrimental effect to me. And my doctor was talking about putting me on stronger medications, because before I went vegan in March 2020, I was still having bleeding whilst taking them.
So you couldn't get rid of the bleeding on your previous diets?
No, because after the carnivore diet, I just had like it was meat with some vegetables and fruit. It would probably be classed as healthy by like you know, the normal standard, if you like a normal doctor standard, but not in let's say in God's standard, I would say. And so in March 2020, I got rid of all of that, all the meat, and I decided to go vegan. And I saw how the bleeding had actually stopped, but I was still taking the medications, and I just really wanted to get off the medications. And so it was in July of 2020, the beginning of July 2020, when I prayed to God and I said to him, God, please, can you just show me, like, I don't know how you're going to do it, but just show me how I can heal from this, how I can come off the medications. And so like the next day or a few days later, I'm just scrolling on YouTube, and the channel I decided to go on was the carnivore YouTube channel, right? The carnivore guy. And at this point, I know he's wrong, because I'm like, okay, there's literally someone who I believe to be a prophet who's saying contrary to this guy. But I'm like, let me see his videos. It was just like someone was in me. And then I saw he had one video which was bashing high carb health. And then I watched the video. He was like saying all the things that were wrong with them, how it doesn't work, and all this stuff. And something was just telling me, like, that's the right one. That's the truth. That's where you want to go. And so I checked out the High Carb Health YouTube channel, and I saw the testimonies of Shamis, and he was obviously promoting the book. And I remember he was saying that, you know, when he was healing from ulcerative colitis, he studied this book and he followed the teachers of this book. And I do actually remember reading in Ellen White's writings, because she's got books on health, where she was saying that if you find like someone who's like a good nutritionist, essentially, whose ideals are in line with the health message that was given to her by God, run with what they're telling you, if you get that sense that what they're saying is correct. So I was like, okay, like, let me look into David Klein. I bought the ebook on Kindle, and I just did what Shamis said. I was studying it, and I decided pretty much the next day, I think it was, or a couple of days later, I was like, all right, Lord, I'm going to do this. let's just go into the deep end. And all of a sudden, I'm just going to the grocery stores, buying like a whole bunches of bananas. You know, people start to know me as buying all these bananas. And right, like, yes, I was have like the banana smoothies, like, I don't know, 7 bananas a day maybe. And for dinner, you know, the very simple, like steamed potatoes, steamed broccoli. And I got a lot of the recipes from High Carb Health as well, like the broccoli soup, the potato soup, all of that stuff, and the roast potatoes. That helped me to get through, you know, that these ideas of what to eat and what not to eat, as I was doing the healing. And also I would watch a lot of the testimonials sometimes when I'm eating and it was getting hard. I was watching the testimonials, and of course I was just praying and trusting God that I would get better. And I remember I did actually have a meeting with Shamis. I spoke to Shamis in this 2 years ago. I remember it was the end of August 2020. So those 2 years have flown by. But
oh man, yeah, exactly 2 years ago. Wow.
I remember even like as I was doing it, because as I was watching the testimonials, I was getting an idea that it takes about roughly 3 months to get better. And I knew I would get better, because I actually had a couple of dreams that I believe were from God, where I was basically showing that I was going to get better. But it was it's tough. It can be very hard. And I was living by myself in Southend. I wasn't in London at that time. But I was like,
just talk about some of those challenges, because this is something that people always ask me about, you know, like, how do people get through the challenging times? Like, what do they do? What symptoms do they experience when things get hard, physically and mentally? Shall we just talk about that for a bit, and then we'll talk about what Shamis told you?
Sure. So yeah, I think, to be honest, from the beginning, obviously I realized I was, because I just went cold turkey off the meds. I was like, cool, bananas, potatoes, all of that stuff, right? I'm like, let's just do this. Yeah, let's just get this done. And obviously, because you're healing, your body's cleansing out all that bad stuff. You bleed a lot, right? And I there were days where I was going toilet like over 20 times in a day. Over 20 times, just losing pure blood, like. And I was still, because I was by myself, I would still go out to the shops and stuff, like to buy the bananas and all of that stuff.
Wow.
And I remember like sometimes I remember one time I was going to Sainsbury's in the morning, supermarket in the morning, and just the pain would come, that soaring pain that you have when you have ulcerative colitis. Well, I was obviously healing at that point, but and having to just stop in the street and just, you know, being in pain and waiting for it to subside so I can carry on with what I needed to buy. And so that wasn't easy. But what I did is that there was an advice that was given actually by Shamiz, where he was like, he watched, I think it was Shamiz, it was like, watch videos of other people eating to give you an appetite. So that's actually what I used to do.
He would watch food TV, like, and eat his, smoothie or eat his soup, and he'd just be like, yeah, that looks good, I'll eat this, kind of thing.
and even though, like, obviously those guys that I was watching, they weren't even eating like vegan, they weren't eating how they should be eating, like, but it was good just to see like people eating. Obviously makes you want to eat. So I did take that advice. That's what I would do for the eating thing, and that did actually help. After I got healed and better, I stopped watching them because it's like like Mark Wayne's and these kind of people. So anyway, yeah, so that helped. And also what I would do as well, like I said, I would watch the testimonials, because that would be like, give me think of like, oh, so this person's done it, they've gone through with it. And also, like, I would study the David Klein book as well. And obviously for myself, being a Christian, the main thing was my faith in God, my faith in Christ, and that he was giving me strength. So obviously I would pray. I remember there was actually one time where I was on the toilet. This was probably around this August 2020, so exactly 2 years ago. I'd gone to the toilet many times that day. And at this point, I remember feeling like I was going to pass out on the toilet. And I was actually thinking to myself at the time, I was thinking about Elvis Presley, because I remember always hearing that he died on the toilet. And I was like, I'm not going to die. I'm gonna die. I felt like, because I didn't know if I was going to pass out, or you know what, like, am I going to die? So I remember praying deeply in my mind. I don't think I even spoke. I was like, God, please keep me alive. And he did. And I didn't pass out, and it was all good. And I just remember that, I had this one opportunity to speak with Shamiz himself over on Skype, and I strategically put it like kind of halfway through the healing process when it was the most hard. So yeah, we spoke for a good, it was over, I remember it was over the time that, was allotted. I think it's an hour or half an hour.
Half an hour, yeah.
Half an hour, but we did.
Yeah, sometimes, if he's got a bit of extra time, he'll give you a bit of extra time, especially if he feels like you're really like committed and your mind's with it, and you really need that extra little bit of support. Yeah, he'll give you some extra time to do that.
Yeah, and he just it was great speaking to him, because he just was like very chill and very like, yeah, I think you pretty much got it. Just keep on going, you'll get better. Keep pushing forward. And so I was like, cool. And then in September, I actually went to go and live with my granddad, because at that point I was so weak that, like I said, I was living by myself. I could barely stand up to cook anymore. Like, so I messaged my little brother. I was like, could you come and help me cook my dinner? And then that's when he must have told my family, because I didn't really tell them what was going on, because I didn't want to worry them. So maybe I should have told them, but maybe that was a mistake. But then, my brother came and they took me into my granddad's. And when I came here in September, I continued on with things. And by, it slowly started getting better. And by November, the symptoms just completely went. It was interesting. It was like one day, or it just seemed to like it kind of slowed down a bit, but it was interesting. It was like really bad one week, and then it was just like gone. And then I was having like normal stools again. And I was like, wow, this is, and I remember like eating, I really love dates, right? But sometimes, usually I'll just stick with the bananas on the healing diet. Sometimes I felt like the dates can make me go toilet even more, which is not, obviously, because it's cleansing you, that's not really a bad thing, but at the same time, you want to slow it down a bit, right? I remember Shamiz talking about that. So like, but when I could eat the dates again, the Majul dates, I was very, very happy. I was sat in there. And that was another thing, was like, my taste buds changed. I actually started loving eating and because even now, pretty much every day, if I'm eating breakfast, fruits are going to be in it. Even this morning, I had a banana smoothie with golden raisins and dates. So it's like,
yum.
Yeah, it's actually so nice, because like I don't even eat like cakes or chocolate or any of that stuff now, because it's like got fruit, like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, no, by November of 2020, yeah, I was good again. And well, and then since then it's been good. Apart from back in earlier this year, I was going through a lot of stress. I was going through like a stressful time. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was also going gym at that time, lifting heavy, and I realized that I was starting to get some symptoms. And so I was like, do you know what I'll do? Let me rest. Let me go back on the diet. And in a couple of weeks, I was fine again. So, and I think I maybe even messaged. Did I message? I might have messaged Shamiz on Instagram even then. But I just knew that. Oh, and another thing that I forgot to mention as well was the another advice that I saw Shamiz gave on YouTube, which was, I believe, was great advice, was buying a water distiller. Because that water distiller, it's interesting actually. When I moved to my granddad's house in September, that's when I started using the water distiller.
Right.
And actually, I saw that my healing improved a lot. Like after I started drinking the distilled water. So I didn't even realize how important it probably was, at least for me, to stop drinking the tap water and the bottled water and to get on the distilled water. And in fact, that's even what I was asking you a question about a couple of weeks ago, because there was somebody, bashing the distilled water. And I was thinking to myself, this isn't right. But yeah, that definitely helped.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe people who are listening or watching this may have the same question as you, so we might as well answer that now, right? So the main argument against distilled water is that you distill all the minerals out of the water too, and so you shouldn't be having that, because you need some of those minerals that come from spring water or from tap water. The way we look at it is that, especially tap water, the minerals are so minute, right, that the benefit you get from them is so minimal, so small, that why would you risk ingesting all the toxins that are in the tap water, the chlorine, the fluoride, the dirt, all of those things that you don't need in your body? Why would you risk that just to get this minute amount of trace minerals that are in there? And then people say, well, where do you get your minerals from? Well, what do we eat that has a lot of water in it? Fruit and vegetables. And how packed are they with water? With minerals, right?
Yeah.
So why would you even think about it? Like this minute amount of trace minerals compared to all of the vitamins and minerals you get in fruit and vegetables. Right. It's a no-brainer, right? So yeah, I mean, 100%. The quality, the purity of the distilled water, it's pure H2O. And then you get your vitamins and your minerals from the food that you eat and the juices that you drink, right? Yes. And so that's the answer to the question, and it seems logical to me. I don't see why you'd want to risk it, and especially when you see what is in the bottom of that water distiller.
Oh yeah. Even
right?
Now I need to clean it out, because and do you know what, I've actually been promoting the water distiller to like people I know, and there was one man, he said he had some health issue. I think it was actually something to do with his liver, if I remember now. But when I saw him again, he bought the water distiller and he told me that it's changed his life. That he feels so much better now.
Amazing.
So yeah, so praise God for that. And also another friend of mine who goes to my church, I told him to buy the water distiller as well. I was like, this has really helped me. Like and even today, he was one of the people I just saw. And he was like saying to someone else about the water distiller, how great it is. Like drinking this water, how he just feels better, I guess. So yeah, that's something I would, I would recommend that Shamiz had, recommended, because I guess I didn't realize until around that time that how bad, I'd heard things here and there about the tap water was bad. Just, I guess I didn't really take any notice of it. Some people might say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory and all that stuff, but actually no, the evidence is there that it's not good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so okay, so around November you started feeling better. So talk people through that process of, okay, the symptoms are gone, how does the body now start to rebuild? How do you put the weight back on, and then to kind of carry on with life?
Yeah. So let me try and go back in my mind back to November of 2020. Yeah, 2020. So I kind of just like, to be honest, like after I started feeling better, I was like, just wanted to go out and do things, because you know, when you're really ill, you can't, like, it's hard. Like I was still going out shopping every day, but even that was like, I remember that would be like I'm doing a workout, like doing that. But at the same time though, I did like, even though I was really ill, I did like to get out and especially go out in nature. I found that actually really helped me as well, just to have a walk in nature. So actually that was one of the things I started doing after I got healed, was I started taking these like nature walks and stuff, like, around the parks that we have here in London. And what else did I do? I was just like China as well. Like obviously at that point, like I said, I became Christian, so I was trying to like get truth out there, trying to spread the health message, that, you know, we should be eating this plant-based diet to other people, and sharing. That's another thing, is like this story that I've shared this with like so many people, like, because I know, like yourself, that this diet is powerful. It will benefit someone who's not even having a disease, like who's just like, they're quote unquote okay, they're eating a standard Western diet, and if they went to a vegan diet, it would really be beneficial to them. And so yeah, and then by May, then the next year, by April, I was back in the job center, because obviously I couldn't work, I was not, you know, I wasn't well. And so and then next year I got a job working as a teacher. And and that's what I'm doing right now actually with my life. I'm working as a teacher at preschool at the moment. So so just getting on with life, and eventually, like let's say if you were ill before and you're actually new to veganism when you start the diet because you want to heal, obviously when you're doing that, it's sort of like new, but then it just, after healing, that becomes the norm, like that way of eating. And like I said, if ever I just know, if ever, and hopefully it won't happen again, but if ever I did like feel like, oh, it's messing up because, you know, stress and all of this stuff, I know I can always go back to the simple David Klein diet, and it works. It works.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what we love about this information, right? So, you know, it teaches you how the body heals, so you actually know how the body heals. And then say you go away from some of those principles and you start to build up the toxins and get some symptoms, then you know exactly what you need to do, because not only have you done it before, you know how the body heals, so you just have to implement that and go through a little bit of the detoxification and come out the other side again. So obviously we would prefer if people, you know, didn't have to do that, but having that knowledge is so vital, so that it gives you that peace of mind when and if something does happen again. So just to close off on the interview, and I think, you know, you've given some really interesting advice and shared a really, you know, valuable journey that you've been on. What advice would you give to people, like, you know, so you're sitting there, you know, trying to figure out what the best diet is for you, or, you know, someone else who's in a similar position to you, what would you tell them if they're sitting there watching this or listening on the podcast?
I would say definitely give the vegan diet a try, the David Klein. And if you have the means, I would definitely recommend, even though I didn't do it, mainly because I didn't have the means, you know, to have the help of yourself and Shamise. Shamise. And trusting God. Like, trust that there is a higher power who's on your side, who's, you know, willing to help you within this. Because at least for me, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been able to go through that healing process. And I just praise him as well for all the information that is out there online that I found. Like I said, it was after praying that I found high carb health. I believe it was the Lord that was just telling me, yep, this is the truth. I'll go with this. And so, yeah, I'll definitely, that if you are listening and you are struggling right now, you're on those medications and you're, you know, as you can get very low, as I was back then in 2019, you're not going to lose anything from trying. You might think to yourself, oh, I'm going to have to give up my beef steak or my chicken or whatever. But trust me, even when you change your diet, your taste buds will change. And this way of eating, I prefer it now. I actually prefer it now to how, obviously in the beginning, it was tough. And I would still actually have cravings for meat, but those cravings actually go away. And then you start craving the fruits, the vegetables, the nuts, and then when you can, obviously after you heal, the nuts, the lentils, the beans, the rice, all of that good stuff. So yeah, that would be my advice. And also for anyone who's actually like interested in the health message and the woman I mentioned, LNGY, there's a website called www.pluckedout.co.uk. And on there, there's actually a
Say that again.
I
just kind of cut out as you said the website.
It's www.pluckedout.co.uk. And there's a section, Plucked Out. There's a section on there which is about Ellen White and her prophecies. And yeah, that's how I found out about the health message that, as I said before, it was like back in the 1800s. She was also saying things like back in the 1800s that tobacco was detrimental to people's health and was causing them to die younger than they should have been. But back in the 1800s, they actually thought tobacco was good for you. So yeah,
absolutely. I think, it's a very interesting thing you say, because after working with hundreds of people through this process and seeing the people that heal, people who have some form of faith, it doesn't matter whether it's a religious faith, it does help, because you have that really strong belief that you're being looked after, that someone's got your back. But whatever faith you have, it makes a huge difference. That self-belief, that kind of confidence that I'm going to be okay, even though you're going through a rough time, plays a huge role in this side, the mental aspect of the healing journey. Like, because when you're having 20 plus bowel motions a day of pure blood coming out like you did, and when you can have that belief that, okay, I'm going to be all right, I've got this, you have to, it goes a long way, because self-doubt can eat away. Am I doing the right thing? Is it, am I going crazy here? Am I going to die? Like, you had that question, oh, goodness. And then you just went back into that faith and that belief, and you said, no, I'm going to be okay. This is my path. This is my journey. And, I have to go through that. So it's very valuable that you shared that. And, find a way, for people who are watching this, whether it's you choose to follow a religion or you choose to find some other form of faith that really helps you believe in yourself and helps you get through it. It makes a big difference in people's healing journeys.
Yeah, definitely. You like that. You basically said that you have to believe that you're going to get better. Otherwise, you will be fighting up your battle. And that's why I did suggest, if whoever's listening, if you can, to get the help of yourself and Shamiz, because even there, like I was saying, I was so ill, I felt I was going to die. Maybe it was because it was going too fast, and I was just, whereas maybe if you guys could advise me and say, maybe, I know in the testimonies they mentioned that, cut down, maybe don't go so crazy, maybe rein it in a bit, go a bit slower, kind of thing. But praise God, for me, in the end, it all worked out.
Yeah. We probably wouldn't have recommended that you stop your medication cold turkey and things like that. But like everyone has that. Sham did the same thing, right? And he went through a very similar experience to you. It does make it more challenging, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. So absolutely, it's I think no matter who you get some guidance from, if you can get some help, as long as they know what they're doing and they've helped other people get the same results that you want, you should go for it. And as you said, if you have the means. Any other final words that you want to share?
Well, just thank you for having me on to be able to share, and thank you and I praise God also for the work that you and your brother have been doing, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So everyone who's listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us here today. I hope you found this video interesting and very useful. I sure did. And I think, it just shows how it's possible to heal yourself, and how, finding the right advice and self-belief and then implementing that can really make a huge difference to your health journey. And so if you are watching and you want to share this, please do that, because more people need to hear about this, and it's not always easy to find this information. So share it out or share it away. You never know who's going to benefit from it. If you're watching on YouTube and you like the video, give it a thumbs up. It helps us reach more people. So, hit that like button to help us reach more people. And if you have any questions in the comment section below, ask away and we'll do our best to answer them. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button and click on that bell notification icon to be notified of all our recent uploads. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks so much, Sam.
Thank you, Shakur.
And for everyone watching and listening, make sure you eat plants, and lots of them. Take care, everyone.